Welcome back, rankers. Do you remember the show I did last week? It was about, a really tough phrase, which was asbestos removal Sydney. Let's do that again for you. And there was one of the results in the top three has only got a single page in the index. And, it's actually got 2 pages. The other page is actually a Hello World page, meaning it's just a filler content or default content. So it really isn't a website at all. That's an extremely tough phrase. And we actually reported the site that was like that last week because it had a lot of backlinks. In fact, it had more backlinks than it had words on the entire site. So from what Google tells us, you've got to have good content. Don't worry about doing backlinking. Well, certainly in that search and in other searches I've done, I've seen that doesn't quite work so well. So I got people to tweet Matt Cutts and a few at Google, and a few people posted it elsewhere, but that site is still there, okay? And so Google, as far as I'm concerned, is still broken. And I'm going to show you another example today of how Google is still broken. It's working better in a whole range of ways, but there are still some tricks that I want to show you today. Not because I want you to do them, but because I want to highlight them to you, and then you can watch how it changes when Google makes its next algorithm change. Because my gut feeling says there's one coming soon. It's going to be either, or it could be both. It could be an exact match domain and another type of Google Penguin update, meaning another type of update targeting backlinks. And the reason I think this is true is because I'm seeing too much noise start to appear again in search, starting to creep up. And it's like some SEOs are starting to work out little tricks that Google can't work out yet. And I say yet because, death, taxes, and a Google algorithm update are the only things constant in this world. So the other search we're going to do today is credit cards. Really tough search. Now, previously, Credit Card Finder was always number one, and for good reason. A lot of the banks were linking to them. They had a good site, Fred Shabesta, who's behind finder.com.au, really smart SEO guy, and it was ranking number one for a long time. It's dropped. I haven't checked why he has dropped, but I have checked why some of the others have risen. And there is a disturbing trend. Well, I'll say disturbing, but it's not that disturbing because it's going to be interesting to see when the next algorithm update comes. Because I've gone and done a backlink check on one of those top ranked sites. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. You can go and do your own homework and go and do your own digging. And what I've noticed, it's got a lot of what I would call junk backlinks. Now, it's not the same sort of junk backlink as we used to see. Remember those backlinks that we used to see used to work all the time? It was just spun content. It was just articles that were just noise and all those sorts of things. Now we're seeing these sorts of articles. This is actually, I wouldn't call this a well-written article, but I would call it certainly an article that is at least readable. Now, it's off a site called debt10.com. So I wanted to find out, who's behind debt.com. And as soon as I see, I've just done a bit of a look up here to see who's behind debt10.com. And as soon as I see that it is, it's privacy, it's hidden, who owns that, to me that sets off alarm bells. To me that sets off, I don't want to tell you who I am. And we've just got heaps and heaps of articles here on loan consolidation, loan deferment. We've got all these articles, and then right down the bottom here, we've got a link, a backlink, credit cards you are considering. And that's linking to one of the top ranked sites in Australia for credit cards. Go and have another look at another link. Once again, interesting article. It's not badly written, but it's from a site called Article Cube. And it's by this guy, Tim McFarlane, who doesn't seem to exist. There's no Google Plus attached to this particular account. And ignore these links. These are just advertising within the site. But then right down the bottom, once again, right at the end of the article, we've got another backlink, credit card deal. Okay, then we've got another article, 5 tips to find a card that will suit you best. Once again, not an offensive article, not one I would recommend to anyone though, And then you can see right down the bottom, once again, the only link in the article says credit cards, and it links back to the site in question. So what we're seeing here is still people doing article publishing and publishing content on other sites with a backlink. Now, the reason this is bad is because it's a trick. These sites do not exist for any other reason, and apologies to the people who may own this site. They don't exist for any other reason other than to get advertising, or in this case, get a lead, which is fine. I've got no problem with that. But I would say that these backlinks that we're seeing on this site, well, maybe they're free, but someone's been paid somewhere to publish them. And they're not coming from blog sites where you can clearly see who the author is. That's why it's so important to get authorship set up in your own site, because it tells Google that who you are, what you're publishing, and then if you link to someone, it knows that you're a reputable person who publishes a lot and you link to people. The same is true of backlinks that you get from sites that have authorship, because it's all out in the open. Like that one that we just looked at, debt-consolidation.com. I haven't checked them, but what's the betting that they are also a private domain? Let's have a look. Yep, registration private. There it is right there. So these are, once again, it's the old school network of sites where you've got multiple, and there's hundreds of these articles like this, and they all have the same thing in common. They all have high density keyword of credit cards, and they all have a backlink right at the end of the article. Now, in the case of the site that is benefiting from these backlinks, it's working. It's really working. Now, you might say, well, Jim, shouldn't we be doing that? Well, sure, if you want a short-term ranking, if you only want to rank for a certain period of time. And I've got no problem with that. It's not a moral issue with me. What I'm talking about is long-term rankings. We've had clients come in here before and say, yeah, I can see your point, I can see how you might work, but you know what? I'm going to take the risk, I'm going to build another site, and I'm going to go and buy a heap of backlinks, similar to this, and get ranks really quickly, and take my chances. And then if I get slammed by Google, I'll go and set up another domain name. And that's fine if you don't care about your brand. But most of the clients we deal with do care about their brand and a long-term strategy. And the problem with pursuing a strategy like this, it doesn't get you into a habit of publishing content yourself on a regular basis, and dare I say, engaging with your audience, meaning that you're actually going back and forth, having a conversation about ideas with your audience, which at the end of the day, it's not only what Google's going to reward, it's what is going to be good for your business or your organization. So this sort of backlinking is back. It seems to be working. Google is broken. It needs to fix it. So this is why I think we're going to see a Penguin update soon, because certain SEOs have got around what Google is punishing and what Google isn't punishing. Now, in the case of this article, and certainly in the case of this article, they're both coming from sites that are simply dedicated to credit cards, debt consolidation, all that sort of thing, finance. This one, it's just an article publishing site. There's all sorts of things, as you can see here. But the articles would have cost more to have been written. And then who knows whether these sites are actually charging to have the articles published or not. But certainly there is a site here, and I'm not going to tell you which one it is, that is benefiting substantially from those backlinks. So if you're doing this sort of stuff, just remember it's a short-term strategy. All I'm saying to you is watch this space for the search of credit cards and see who disappears from, say, the top 5 spots and where they go after that. It ain't going to be pretty. It's going to be carnage. I don't think we'll see it before Christmas, because probably in January, I think we'll see another big update, probably exact match domain update, and also a Penguin type update. And remember, if you do see these sorts of sites and they are your competitors and you're not doing this and you've got a nice clean backlink profile, go and report them. Watch the show from last week. Find out how to do that, because Google has got better over the last 6 months. It's got more relevant. I'm seeing better results, but there are exceptions to that rule, and this is another one of them. And that's it for this week. Hopefully that was helpful. We'll see you next week. Thanks very much. Bye.